Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. I am very excited today to be starting my first of 3 vlogs for the Battle of the Booktubers. Battle of the Booktubers is a project that I was so kindly invited to by Danny from Danny Dabbles. I will have her channel and some of the videos linked down below so you can check out what I'm talking about. But basically, she organized, this is round 4, so 4 rounds where there are 4 booktubers in each round, and the goal is to see who's the best recommender of books. So in each round, we got to recommend books for the 3 other people in our round. And so I have 2 books from each of the 3 people in my round, and I don't know who recommended these books. So for this round, I'm going to be reading books from person A. If I had to guess, I would say that person A is Jolene from Bookworm Adventure Gale. Let me tell you what the books are and why I think that it's her. So this is my longest and my shortest book, which is why I'm starting with this selection of books. And they are Foster by Claire Keegan. This is the shortest of all my selections, and this is the one I'm probably going to start with. And then also The Power of One by Bryce Courtenay, which was already on my shelves. And this one is World War II historical fiction. And in this one, our main character gets taken to Ireland to live with some relatives, kind of like foster care situation. I would call it maybe literary fiction with a child protagonist. I think both of these actually have a child protagonist, which I kind of love. I think both of these are going to be a hit, honestly. If either of these were Canadian authors, that would be a dead giveaway that Jolene is the recommender of these. But I do think of the 3 people who recommended me books for this round, Jolene probably reads the closest to me, I would have said at first glance, and a lot of that is historical fiction. So I'm thinking Jolene is person A. My job is now to read these 2 books, tell you what I think about them, and see how did person A do and give them a rating. So first of all, I'm going to read Foster. This is by Claire Keegan, like I said. It's a very short little novella. I think it's only 92 pages, not even 100 pages. So I should be able to read this afternoon and get this one done. And then I do have The Power of One on audio. I believe I have it on Everand, I think. So I'm going to take a look if I have this on audio, because I need a new audiobook, which is also why I wanted to start this. But also, this is my longest of all of the books that were selected for me or recommended to me. This one takes place in 1939. Hitler casts his enormous cruel shadow across the world. The seeds of apartheid take place in South Africa. There, a boy called PK is born. His childhood is marked by humiliation and abandonment, yet he vows to survive and conceives heroic dreams, which are nothing compared to what life actually has in store for him. He embarks on an epic journey through a land of tribal superstition and modern prejudice, where he will learn the power of words, the power to transform lives, and the power of one. Good grief, that sounds good. I'm very excited about this. So I'm going to try to find this on audio, and I'm going to read this one this afternoon, and I will come back along the way to let you know how I think about them. I'm going to try to stop once or twice as I'm reading. This one I might not be able to stop too much because it's so short, but I have high hopes for both of these. To be honest, I'm very hopeful. They both sound like books that I'm going to love. So we'll see. Okay, so I'm 25 pages in to Foster, and I decided to come in my room and do a little painting of my nails, a little pink ombre today. And I think the writing of this is more literary than I like. I do like the story. We're following a young girl, and she was dropped off at her aunt and uncle's house in Ireland. Her parents, it sounds like they have a lot of kids. It sounds like the mom is about to have another child. The dad, all he kept saying is that this one's going to eat you out of house and home. He wasn't very positive as he was talking about his daughter. There's been hints about her being afraid at night and keeping secrets. She's stayed awake as long as she could at her first night there. So you just know there's history there. She's probably been abused in some way. We're just at the very beginning. I don't know where we're going to go from here. I do feel like it's going to be a bit of a heartbreaker, even though it's only 100 pages. We'll see. It does sound like one I wish I was listening to because it takes place in Ireland. All of these characters are Irish. It would have been fun. Some of it's written in a little bit of a dialect, a little bit of words that I'm not familiar with. That would have been fun to listen to rather than read in print, but I'm just going to keep going in print. So I'm going to keep going and continue painting my nails. This is only coat number 1, so I have to do another coat. Decided to bring my reading outside because it's really lovely today. And I'm just past halfway, and they just had to go to a wake for someone in the town. It was her first time going. So a neighbor offered to bring her home to play with the neighbor kids for a little while until the aunt and uncle were ready to leave. And doesn't that neighbor immediately start asking this poor little girl all these questions? What room do they have you in? Do they play cards every night? Do you say the rosary? Like, busybody neighbor. Grr. And she spilled the beans about something that happened in this family that the girl didn't pick up on. She didn't ask questions about. She didn't realize. I did as a reader, but I don't want to talk about it now because I feel like it might be spoilery because this is so short. I'm just annoyed with this busybody neighbor sticking her nose into places that are none of her business. She did something kind by offering to bring her home and play with her kids, but then she's just doing it to, like, see what kind of info she can get about her neighbors. Boo. I didn't like that at all. But I do feel like it's well written, and I'm enjoying it. I'm gearing up for a cry. I feel like it's going to make me sad by the end, but maybe in a good way. Like, maybe there'll be happy tears. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, I finished Foster. I have kind of mixed feelings about it. I thought that a lot was covered in these little 100 pages about family, a belonging, home, love. This little girl kind of realizing there's a different type of life than what she lives with her family. There's just a lot packed into this little tiny book. The ending was heartbreaking, but also ambiguous a little bit, which I don't love. And I didn't find myself really connecting emotionally to the characters. The writing was a little bit sparse. The story was sparse because it's only 100 pages. Of course it's sparse. But it was also beautiful. I don't know. I have such mixed feelings. I think I'm going to land on 4 stars because I do appreciate the writing. I appreciate what she tried to do in this little novella, short story even, and I could recognize it. But at the same time, I kind of felt a little dumb because I feel like I didn't pick up on everything. It's one that you could reread. It's definitely one that I would prefer to listen to next time. I'm going to give it 4 stars. I think for something to be a 5 stars, I need to really emotionally connect to it, and I didn't quite do that with this one. 4 stars it is. Really good way to start the Battle of the Booktubers. And now I'm going to go see if I can find where I saw Power of One on audio and get that started today too, because why not? So far, so good. So I was having trouble finding the Power of One on audio. I thought I had it saved on Everand, but it's not there right now. So maybe it's in Everand jail, or maybe it's just not there anymore. I tried on Libby with multiple library cards. No luck. Tried Hoopla, no luck. Oh, tried Libro FM, no luck. Signed up for a free premium 1 month of Audible, but you still have to pay for the book. So I didn't want to do that because I already own the book. Ugh. But then I found it on Spotify. The problem is, Spotify only gives you 13 or 15 hours a month, and the audiobook is 21 hours long. It's a long one, guys. And I think that even when I speed it up, it still counts the original amount of hours. I don't know. I'm going to see how far I can get. We'll see. But I'm going to get started listening to it on Spotify. Found it. Yay! I have been spending a lot of time tonight with The Power of One. I am now 200 pages in, and I have such mixed feelings about this story. I had started it in print for about 80 pages, and it was incredibly slow. But there would be sections that would catch my attention, and I would be wanting to read more. I'm glad I switched to the audio because that has continued. There are sections where Courtney goes off on a tangent about boxing or about music. There's been a couple different ones, and I lose kind of the stream of the story. But basically, we're following this young boy, PK, which is a name that he's given himself. I don't even know if I ever knew his actual name. We follow him when he is about 5. He's sent to a boarding school. He had been raised basically by a nanny and his grandfather because his mom had a nervous breakdown or something, and she was kind of sent away for a little bit. And when that happened, he was sent to this boarding school where he was incredibly bullied. Oh my gosh. It was some of the most dramatic and intense bullying I've read maybe ever. Ugh. I didn't like it at all. Like, he was getting peed on by the older boys. He was tied up to a tree and just brutalized. He's 5, and it was the senior boys that were doing it. I don't know how old the senior boys were, but from his little perspective, bless his heart, it was brutal. I didn't like it. It was really difficult to read. And he kind of, at one point they had a holiday, he got to go home. He had developed a bedwetting issue because of all this bullying. And even the warden, or the woman who was in charge of the boys' ward that he was on, she was awful too. And he had lived out in the country. He was very naive. 5 years old, he'd never had a shower. So when they turned the showers on him, he didn't know what was going on. Like, this poor little kid. It was heart-wrenching and difficult to read. And then, through a series of events, he gets sent to the city to stay with his grandfather. And on the train, he meets this boxer, which is what gets us into this whole boxing thing. But the boxer, he spends less than 24 hours with this kid and changes his life. Teaches him about the power of one. I don't know. I don't want to go on and on about what the story is actually about. I just want to talk about my impressions. That's what I need to do. I feel like it's too literary for me, that the story is getting lost in the writing. And some people can appreciate a book, and I can to a degree, can appreciate a book for its beautiful writing. And I do think that it's written well, this story, but I just need a more compelling story in order for a book to truly capture my heart and to be ultimately a 5-star read for me. And I understand that ratings are so subjective. That's what reading is all about, right? We all interpret things and respond to things and react to books in different ways. And that's okay. Ultimately, what it comes down to is I'm not really enjoying it. I feel like it's taking forever to go through this little kid's life. He is now 7 years old. He had another important adult in his life who is in jail at the moment. And ultimately, in the background of all of this, is the political race tension that builds and builds and builds until apartheid starts in South Africa. And that is what this book is ultimately going to be about. The seeds of apartheid take root in South Africa, 1939. So we have Hitler and the Nazi Party, and all of that is far-reaching even to South Africa. I don't know. It's not capturing my attention. But at the same time, I can appreciate that it is well written. I did read something, I don't remember where it was. Was it a review or something that said that a lot of this is autobiographical? And when I'm listening to it or reading it as if it's a memoir, for some reason that's more interesting to me. Thinking that this really happened to maybe Bryce Courtney, a lot of this stuff. So I'm interested to see if there's an author's note, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to keep plugging away. Hopefully it will change as he gets older. Is this going to be a true just coming of age story of this boy? I don't know, but I'm alternating between bored and invested. It's not a really fun place to be. I want to be invested the whole time. I don't want to be bored. And also, I can't speed up the audiobook. This is like personal preference, but I can't speed up the audiobook as much as I normally do because it is a very strong South African accent, which is nice to listen to. But I can only listen at 1.5 right now because if I speed it up, I can't understand what the narrator is saying. So as of right now, at 200 pages, I would guess that this is going to end up being a 3-star read. It has so many 5-star reads, though. It's one of my higher rated books on my TBR. Maybe. I mean, there's plenty of room for it to change and be raised up. Because of how it started, though, I don't think it'll be 5. I don't know. We'll see. Well, I hit the problem of listening to an audiobook on Spotify because you only have a certain amount of hours. And if your audiobook is longer than those hours, which this one is, then you are screwed. Basically, I got this close to the end and I ran out of hours on Spotify and I have to wait 15 days to get more when my membership renews or whatever. So I have to finish this in print. Starting and ending it in print, that's fine. I powered through today because I really was wanting to DNF at about halfway through, and probably would have if I wasn't reading it for this project. I really got bored with this book. I don't care one whit about boxing, and boxing is the main activity of our little dude as he grows up from a very young age. I just don't care about boxing at all. I do love some of the male friendships and mentors that he has through the years. There's a couple who have really strongly influenced his life, especially in regards to how to treat other people in a land, South Africa, that's very, very racist. And some of the scenes in here, good gracious, were very difficult to read, because at one point he befriends this man named Doc, who kind of becomes a teacher to him and a mentor. Doc is imprisoned because I think he's German and World War II is going on, and so he gets put in prison simply because he's a German. But PK gets permission to go to get his schooling. He's a music teacher. Doc is a music teacher, but also just teaches him about life and other things as well. He gets permission to go to the prison every day. And then it gets in depth about the black market in the prison. And he ends up being able to learn how to box from one of the guards at the prison, is teaching kids how to box. And so he learns how to box at the prison. But in the prison as well, there are, they call them kaffir. I'm so sorry if that is an offensive term. It sounds like it's offensive because it's never used in a positive way, which is a black person. And the Boers are the like farmer Afrikaans, white people. And then there's Germans and Dutch and the British, Englishers, and everybody doesn't get along with everybody else. And so this little boy, our main character, he's English. And so that's why he's bullied at the first boarding school he goes to, because he's English. And then when he's in the prison, we see a lot of brutality towards, in particular, one black man who has spent most of his life in prison and really helps PK with his boxing as well. Like the racism is intense and really difficult to read. The language is difficult. Not the writing, but there's a lot of cursing in here, and I don't care for that. The way that women are described occasionally is really rough. It's just not my favorite at all. It's so highly rated. I don't know what's going to happen in the last few pages, but I don't know if it's going to be able to be redeemed for me in that short amount of time. I feel bad for the person who recommended it because it was already on my shelves. And if they looked at my Goodreads, they know that. It is a coming-of-age story set during the beginnings of World War II in South Africa. All of that is things that I would normally like. It has a super high rating on Goodreads. It's one of the top 10 rated books on my shelves, I'm pretty sure. Or close to it, if not in that top 10. So I feel like it was a really good recommendation for all of those reasons, but it is just not hitting the spot. It's not doing it. I'm really kind of frustrated by that. It's always so frustrating when you really expect that a book is going to be fantastic, and it's just not for me. I'm sure it is for others. It clearly is for others because it has so many high ratings. I have about 80 pages to go. I'm going to try to knock this out either tonight or tomorrow, but get this finished so I can be done. Good grief. All right. I finished The Power of One. It's getting a 2 stars for me. I just felt like it was easily 100 pages too long. In the ending, without being spoilery, PK kind of faces the ghosts of his past. Instead of there being any kind of redemption or growth or, I don't know, he just uses violence. He uses his boxing, and then it ends so abruptly. And then it's just over. I'm like, what the heck? I think there were things that I liked about the story. I liked learning about South Africa during this time period, the 30s. We go for about 15 years from PK being 5 to 20. I enjoyed learning about all the different kind of race relations that were in South Africa at the time, like South Africa versus the Germans, the Afrikaners versus the Englishers, the everybody against the black people. Like, there was just so much racism throughout, and at times it was described in such graphic, violent, disturbing scenes that I really didn't care for, but I'm sure that to a degree was how things were. And so it was tough to read, but I did like learning about South Africa during that time. However, PK, as much as I kind of liked him as a kid, and I felt bad. I didn't like him per se, but I felt really bad for him because he had to endure. I mean, he got sent away to boarding school when he was only 5 years old. And then in boarding school had to deal with an awful bully in his gang. And so it was endearing to a degree, and not endearing, but like my heart just went out to him. And then he gets sent to his grandfather's house in Barberton, and that's where he meets Hoppy on the train, who introduces him to boxing, and the course of his life is changed. I did like the relationship that he had with a number of different mentors, Hoppy being the first, even though it was only like 24 hours that he was with him. And then Doc and Sully and Jill Pete. I forget how to say that one. So all of these different men who poured into PK's life. But PK himself was not particularly a likable character. He just felt like he was up on this pedestal and was so good at everything he did. He was good at chess. He was incredibly smart. He was super observant. He learned so quickly. He knew multiple languages, which I know is the case for many people outside of the US. But he could speak all of these languages really well. He kind of became almost like a little idol in a way to the Black community where he was because of his boxing and different things. He just was on a pedestal all the way through this book. Like, he just, anything that he put his hands to, he was going to do it well and better than anybody else. He never lost a boxing match, etc., etc. He just didn't feel real. And maybe that's why that last scene where instead of him taking the high road, he just like doesn't take the high road. Maybe that is showing like the flawed side of his character. I don't know. I just didn't love this one. And it was just so long. So it's getting 2 stars, even though, oh man, I feel bad because I do feel like this should have been a great recommendation for me. I feel really bad, but I didn't like it. I think it went on too many tangents. At the end, he takes a year off before going to college and goes to become a miner, and works a super dangerous job, and of course does it better than anyone else and longer than anyone else. Too much about boxing, which I just didn't care about. Too much about cactus growth, and yeah, there were just little random tangents that totally could have been cut out of here and not really changed much about the story, about the book. So 2 stars. Bummer. All right, so for this vlog, I read Booktuber A's recommendations: Foster by Claire Keegan and The Power of One by Bryce Courtenay. And unfortunately, I don't think I loved either one of these, which is really sad because on paper, they both feel like books that I would really like. I think I landed on 3 stars for Foster, and I'm landing on 2 stars for The Power of One. I very rarely have a 2-star read, and honestly, I would have DNF'd this if it weren't for this project. Boo. I feel really bad about that. I think Jolene from the Bookworm Adventure Girl is the one who recommended these. I think she's the one that reads the most literary fiction from the people in this round. And on paper, Jolene, if it's you or whoever it is that recommended these, on paper, these feel like books that I should like and really enjoy. They both have elements of books that I have loved before, but for whatever reason, they both did not work for me this time. So I'm really sorry that I'm giving you a low score, but unfortunately, these two are just not my favorite. So there we have it. I will be coming to you next week with 2 more books from another recommender, and we will see if hopefully I like them a little bit better than these ones. These just didn't work for me. I would love to hear your thoughts if you've read either of these books, if you felt similar to me or differently from me. And please go check out all the other Battle of the Booktuber videos this week. There will be 3 other vlogs out. See if you can guess if any of them are reading the books that I recommended to them. They're not going to know, so technically you won't know either, but maybe you can guess. I don't know. You guys know my taste really well. And check out Danny's channel as well for just all the Battle of the Booktuber goodies that come out. And thank you so much for watching, spending a few minutes of your day with me. I always appreciate you being here, and I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.